Okay, we should be recording now.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, it's good to talk to you, Bill. How's everything going in New York these days? Are you playing a lot?
I am. It's a little cold right now, the weather. Uh, yeah, tomorrow I'm playing at the American Folk Art Museum with Jay Lenhart. Um,
Oh,
there
he's a
was a
marvelous
there
bassist.
was a session I was supposed to make tonight with a quintet that they get together every Tuesday, and that's always a nice thing because they pull out charts and a lot of tunes that I don't get to play all the time. But the weather's a little cold, and actually, I've been busy. So for my gig tomorrow, I really have to sit down and practice a few tunes. So I'm going to skip the session tonight. But it's nice to know it's around. I know it's something I can do every Tuesday. And there's another place, uh, and that was for tonight. And the other thing, there's another place that has a trio without guitar, and
Okay.
I'm always welcome to sit in there. And I'm a habitual sitter inner.
Oh, you do that a lot. That's fabulous.
I've
That's
done, my whole playing life. Keep playing, and so I have that tomorrow, and then at the Folk Art Museum. It's a gig I've had for 15 years. We used to play every Wednesday, and now since the pandemic, it's every other Wednesday.
mm,
And Friday, I'm playing with Jay Lenhart at a little restaurant that's owned by Lady Gaga's parents.
really.
And I let them know that Jay Lenhart has played with everybody, all the great singers, you
That's
know,
right.
Mary Clooney and Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett, you name them. And I said, if she feels like sitting in, she'll be very comfortable.
Right. And recognized, I'm sure.
I have a gig I'm doing on Sunday, a little jazz brunch. So, these things come in and keep me busy, and I really don't have to go searching for them. I get calls,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
know.
Well, on the subject of sitting in, you said you've done it your whole career. So
Yeah.
tell me about some of the early experiences sitting in. Did you bother Joe Puma or Remo or any of those other guys to sit in
Well,
on their gigs, or
well,
was there?
so Emo didn't play gigs out. That's an interesting story I can tell you about. Joe Puma, he was
Uh-huh.
a great player.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I have a guitar that he ordered and he didn't take. And I've used that mostly on when I played with organ trios, and that's a 175 body with an L5 neck,
Very interesting.
and terrific guitar, great pickups on it, and yeah. So Joe Puma, I remember seeing him in he was playing in Miami, and at that point it was early on, and I was asking him something about diminished chords. At that point, I didn't know what a diminished chord is really. I mean, I know how to play it, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that it's something else besides being called a diminished. So I asked him, I think he was playing it to him like it's wonderful or something, and I said, what is it really? I know it's something else. He said, what do you think it is? So that's Joe, and so I had to go home and figure it out, which
Interesting. Yeah.
fortunately I did. It's something like that.
Yeah.
But
So
sitting in, yeah, well, there were opportunities to sit in. That's uh, that was very fortunate. Um, if you can play, and if you couldn't play, out the door, you felt like a piece of crap. And but I used to sit in, I used to do different places that had these jam sessions and really good players. And you go in and then you sit in, you're really taking your life in your hands because you don't know what they're going to play, and you have your repertoire, and you know it in your key if you know it, right? And then what if they really pull some shit on you, purposely, or else that's what they do, that they're comfortable with. So I used to make, these little notebooks, little music notebooks, the little brown cover, spiral.
Yeah, yeah.
So I used to, when I go to a session, I used to write down what the repertoire was. I went home and I wrote out the tunes in their key. So like some people would play Stardust in D flat, and other places they played in C.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I at that point I really wasn't up on it. I didn't really have it memorized, and maybe I wasn't completely sure of the form. And so I wrote it out. And of course, you can take that little book and put it under your guitar on your lap, not like a cell phone.
That's right.
Put it on your lap, right,
Little cheat sheet.
you put it
Yeah.
right there, and you put your guitar on it, and then they call it. And the thing is that when you go back to the session, they do the same tunes. You
That's
know,
right.
they're gonna play Along Came Betty, and another place they're not gonna play that. They're gonna play in a mellow tone. So I had it scoped out, so I was prepared when I went back to the session for what they're doing. Otherwise, you're just completely winging it, and that's dangerous. Of course, I've done that too, and that's what I'm doing now a lot because when I go to gigs, I get calls for gigs, and they assume that I know what they're calling me for. That's a whole other thing.
Right, right. Now, in the sit-in situation, did you ever have tunes in mind? If they asked you what you wanted to play, I'm sure that you were ready to call some things, because that's sort of what a lot of sessions, the way they handle them is whoever gets invited to sit in, the band, the house band says, "What do you want to play?" As
Well, good
opposed
for
to the other.
you. Not around this parts.
Interesting. Yeah, New York
Not,
is
not,
a
not
different.
at, well, maybe now, not then.
Yeah.
No. And matter of fact, some people who had sessions, they were protective of what they knew, and they didn't want to feel like an idiot. So
That's right.
it's up to you. You're on the spot. You're the one who's sitting in. It's not like let's all go have fun and we'll sing Kumbaya and let's talk about this and figure it out. It was rough.
Yeah. Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know, and that's great that you still sit in, because I know when a lot of players, reach a certain age, they become established, like you're an established player, that you don't really feel like you need to do that, but that's something that I guess that you like to do.
Well, I don't do it that much. I mean, I have this session that I play on Tuesdays, um, and this other place that I could sit in, and I have invites to other places that I can sit in, and I don't really, I don't do it that much. I'm
Right.
just saying that I have the opportunity to do it, and you're right. At this point, I'd rather stay home unless it's something that I really feel like I'm itchy and I want to get out, or I want to, I'm preparing for something and I just want to shake it up a little bit, because at home it's a little very comfortable, and when you go in to sit in, still, I mean, the one on that I was saying that I do, that I could go tonight. It's he plays at some, he plays it's piano, bass, and sax, and he calls me every now and then when the piano player can't make it. So I sort of know what he does, but he pulls out stuff. He never says, "Do you know this tune?" It's
Right. Right.
like I like being shaken up a little bit, and learning it on the spot.
That's good. And instead of having to have a music stand and fumble for your digital changes.
But yeah, yeah, the sitting in thing was really great because I got to play with in the past with so many great players. And
Mhm.
actually, a memorable sitting in situation was I knew Ram Ramirez.
Yeah,
Ramirez,
Loverman. Yeah, he wrote Loverman, among other things. He's a piano player, right? Jazz pianist.
piano player, and what a lot of people didn't know, he also played organ.
Uh-huh.
And I played him a couple of times on organ, but he was a piano player. And he introduced me to Earl Warren, who led the Reed section of Count Basie band,
Hmm.
the West End Cafe. And the West End Cafe, are you familiar with the West End?
Just a bit. Stayed up there and, checked out a couple clubs, but not so much. No.
It was started by Phil Schaap when he was a teenager.
Okay. Oh yeah, Phil Shapp. Yeah, of course. The Mosaic guy, among other things. Yeah.
The jazz historian.
Yeah,
And
Jazz.
as a teenager, this West End was a bar that's near Columbia University.
Hmm.
And it started around 1970. But this was the time he figured his father was also a music historian, and they lived in Queens and had were friends with a lot of well-known jazz musicians.
Yeah.
And so he had that connection. He thought that at that time, because of rock and roll, the Count Basie musicians, musicians from the Ellington band were not working. The older musicians, Eddie Durham, it wasn't much work. It all went kaput. So he started a jazz series 7 nights a week at the West End Cafe, and hired all these guys.
Oh,
And it was amazing. The things that you read about in books. You go up to the West End, and there they are. Sonny Greer, Joe Jones, you know, Buddy Tate.
amazing.
Well, I mean, all of them. There they are, and 7 nights a week. So Ram introduced me to Earl Warren, and he said, "Yeah," and they let me sit in, and that was it. I was in.
Oh, all
So
right.
I was with the Count Basie countsman, not Basie himself.
Uh-huh.
All these guys, because Earl Warren led the,
The Reed section, yeah.
and of course Eddie Durham and Joe Jones and all the guys, Buddy Tate, and I was a guitar player. And
Did you play with Eddie, or did you take
yeah,
his?
oh, he played trombone.
Oh, right. He was also a trombone player. That's right. Yeah,
He played
mainly, I
guitar.
suppose. Yeah.
Occasionally played guitar, and we played together.
Yeah.
And we talked and showed me a few things, and you know, you learn by osmosis, really.
So did you get to pick Eddie Durham's brain a little bit about Charlie Christian and some of the early days?
No, no,
No, not really.
I know about it. I know about it from reading about it. I mean, but I mean, I know he uh, was an advisor to Charlie Christian.
Right.
You
Not many
know,
of those that you run into, huh?
right? He taught him how to play like a class in a classy style. And taught him about down picking.
Right.
Of course, I used to
Strum.
watch him. It was all down picking. I watched the way he did it, and not only watching it is hearing
Hmm.
what it sounded like and seeing his approach. Very, very strong, strong. When he plays trombone, you don't want to be sitting in the first row. It went boom,
No.
and when he played his guitar, he went boom. His
Did he
hand
bring both instruments to the West End?
sometimes,
Sometimes. Sometimes
sometimes.
he used your guitar, maybe, huh?
No.
No, he never did. Oh, okay.
But he came in and sat in. See, even he sat in.
You know, he might have had a very high action on his guitar. I'm just guessing. Um, you know, because a lot of players today don't have very high action. How about you? Speaking of that, I mean, you know, a gear.
Medium, medium. I don't like it too low,
Yeah,
be- because I attack it. I attack the guitar a little bit,
yeah,
and
stronger.
I like that sound. I like Eddie, it's like strong. I like a strong and wrong is okay.
You like some resistance with the right
Yeah,
hand.
yeah,
You know? Yeah, I
yeah.
understand. Mm,
Of course, if I play, I did a Count Basie concert. Well, not with Basie, but I forget what the hell was his name. Anyway, at Town Hall, and
mhm,
I used my L4 at that time, and I put the strings up high because I played it acoustic,
mhm, mhm. Right.
and people said they could hear it all the way in the back.
That's
It's a
yeah.
16 body. But I had the strings up
Smaller
high.
body too. That's right. Yeah, yeah.
I have a D'Angelico, which I don't use too much, but I have 12s on them now, and it doesn't work. I really have to crank them up to 13s, 14s.
Yeah. Did you ever get to meet John D'Angelico or DeQuisto maybe? Some of those guys were around New York.
Montecristo, and I have a Boris.
Yeah, I noticed that. You know, it's his birthday today, Roger Boris. Right before I signed on with you, I got this little pop up and it said birthdays, and it had three, and one of them was Roger's. So it's funny.
We'll put that down. I should call him. As a matter of fact, I
I
have
have
to
to
see it
call him.
because I need some work done. But he's the third one. It was D'Angelico, DeQuisto, and Roger worked for
Yeah.
stuff. So I mean, I have yeah, that one.
Yeah, I see you playing that on, I went to YouTube and I saw most of the performance videos you're playing the Boris
Yeah, yeah,
on that. Very even sounding guitars, very nice, warm and very even across the whole instrument, you know.
yeah. It needs some work on it, right? And I don't know how to adjust the truss rod, so I have to see it. I have to take a lesson in that.
Well, you've got the best luthier, repair guys in the world in New York, so,
Roger does my work.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, speaking of Joe Puma, I think he built his guitar under,
That's
uh,
why he didn't take the one that I have.
wasn't it? Yeah, that's why he didn't take it. He was gonna build
Yeah,
his own guitar. Yeah, that was something. Yeah, I think he saw a part of a body I think it was DeQuisto's shop, right? And and he said, "What's that doing?" And he said, "Oh, I'm not doing anything with that." So I guess Joe took that on as a project guitar and worked on it with him there. Uh,
wonderful player, wonderful player. He was
yeah,
uh,
yeah, he was fabulous.
with Chuck Wayne. It was fantastic.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Joe used to attend some of the guitar shows in Long Island, the 20th century guitar shows, and that's where I met you. I met you, I think, at the same time as Howard Morgan. This probably would have been somewhere around the late 90s, early 2000s, maybe. It was quite a while ago. Does
Probably,
that sound about right to you?
I think maybe around '89. I think I met him, something like that.
Oh wow, even before that. Okay, yeah, those shows were terrific, and there were so many players that aren't around anymore that I heard and got to chat with.
Well,
Um,
one of the greats.
Sal Salvador was often there, and so on. And yeah, so what was it like being a guitar player in New York amongst all these legendary players? Was there room for everybody, or was it very sort of territorial? Was it hard to get gigs?
So
Wait,
look, everybody had their, I guess their niche.
Hmm.
Some people played club dates. Some people did recordings. Some went on the road. Some did played in the Broadway shows, and some played in bar rooms and real dumps. And that was me. Yeah, so I did club dates
Hmm.
when they had club dates, and I guess people who are watching and know what a club date is. You do party, wedding, bar mitzvah.
Casual. I think they also call them casuals sometimes, right? Or GB gigs in Boston. They used to always
Oh, it's
general business.
good education, learning the tunes, learning the business, learning that you have to show up and dress right,
That's right.
and 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 people who knew how to read well, and people played classical guitar. So everybody had their little thing. My reading wasn't so terrific at that time. As a matter of
Mm.
fact, it was non-existent at some points. But I was still playing because I learned to play by ear.
Yeah.
So I studied and eventually learned how to read. And I mean, I get calls now for reading, which I couldn't do years ago.
Right. Right. Well, it is a little bit harder on the guitar, so I think we have to work on it a little bit more. We didn't grow up in horn sax sections and brass sections and things like that, having to read with it, right? And it was a guitar is a little bit more of a solitary instrument, and plus it's you get the note in so many duplicate places on the instrument. It makes it harder, but there's no excuse um, for that, as I like to tell my students. As far as guitar ensembles, have you played in any guitar ensembles up there? I know Jack Wilkins used to have one. Um, and
The
there
only
was,
time I did an ensemble was I studied with Barry Galbraith for a while,
oh, beautiful.
and we did five guitars.
Were those his arrangements mostly? Were those his arrangements mostly?
Yeah,
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
Green, things like that.
yeah, yeah. Well, if you still have any of those, I'd be very interested in talking to you.
Four brothers,
Four brothers. Yeah, yeah,
done a lot of guitar duos.
yeah,
Started at the American Folk Art Museum with Tony DiCaprio, wonderful guitar player.
yeah.
And then he had some other things to do. So then Mike Gary, Mike Gary?
Who? I'm sorry.
Mike Gary.
Oh, I've heard the name, but I don't know him personally. No.
Uh, I think he studied with Howie Morgan and Chuck Wayne.
Oh, okay.
Howie did, Howard Morgan that introduced me to Mike, and
Sure.
did a CD together. We were together quite a few years.
And he always played the seven string when you guys played together.
It's,
He played six.
you
I
talk
see.
about Mike Gary.
Oh,
Or
oh, Mike. Okay.
Howard Morgan played seven string.
Seven. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was speaking of Howard Morgan. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Howard Morgan and I were together for 12 years.
Well, you must have got along very well musically and personally.
We did. You want to hear some stories about Howie?
Oh yeah, I'd love to hear some. I'm sure everybody would.
First of all, the way we did the duo is I would do the improvisation, the at the moment, when I mean that kind of improvisation, just off the top, and he would accompany me, and then he'd play his own solo arrangement, and I just listen to him play.
I see.
Because that's the way, that was his strength and that was his comfort level. Occasionally, he would take a chance and play off the top of his head, and afterwards, and I'd say, "That was terrific. See, you're really great. You can do that." He says, "I did what I do." By the same token, I really wasn't a great at chord melody. I didn't think, but I would play a chord melody. He says, "That's it. It's great." And I would say to him, "What did I do?"
Ah, that's funny.
You know,
Yeah.
but
Well,
that's it. So we both did what we were comfortable doing, and that was our duo. Uh, we he used to teach Paul Simon. So as a consequence, we had about 10 gigs for Paul, and we did his after parties when he would have a concert. All the people who were in the concert would come to wherever the venue was. Sometimes his home in Montauk, where he had a house, Montauk Point in Long Island,
uh-huh.
and and we would play it. So we got to meet everybody, But we would play as a duo, and they would gather around, and it was interesting because many of the musicians, really weren't comfortable playing off the top. You just kind of just start playing and let
Yeah.
it happen. It's not prepared. I mean, that's Paul was kind of taken that as well. And we got together a few times personally, at his home. We went over a few little things. And I saw what he does. That's why I do what I do.
Ah, I see.
But
So,
we had an interesting thing, one time. You have time for stories?
oh, I would love stories, and I know a lot of people that also we have this Facebook group called Jazz Guitar Wit and Wisdom, and I believe you're a member on that. And some of it is anecdotes,
Yeah.
showing the wit of and the wisdom
I don't
of
know.
jazz
Sure,
guitarists. So yeah,
sure is.
let's hear them.
But anyway, uh, one summer, my wife and I were on uh, some the island of near Cape Cod, and I'm just, the name escapes me. That is a symptom of age. So anyway, I get a call from Paul's agent. Says Paul decided he needs you and Howard Morgan to play at this after party on Montauk. Yeah, the Allman Brothers and Chris Gustavson and so well, I said no, but I can't do it. I'm on vacation right now. He says, well, if you go back to Martha's Vineyard, that's what it was, Martha's
Oh
Vineyard.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, he said, look, if you go to the Woods Hole, which is on the island, you take a ferry and then you take the train. We'll meet you with a limousine in New York. We'll take you out to the Long Island. I said, that's just going to be a day and a half. I'm on vacation. You don't understand. I can't do it. Tell Paul, I'm sorry. So, okay, hangs up the phone and bing, 10 minutes later, he says, would you come if we send a plane for you?
Oh,
Said, okay. So the next day, my wife and I go to this little airstrip, and down comes a plane. Guy comes out with a cup of coffee and a newspaper, takes my guitar. You get anything in 10 minutes it took us to get to Montauk. Otherwise, it would have been a whole day.
sure, sure.
And limousine, go to the duplex and the yacht club, and then we did the show, got paid, and
Fabulous. Yeah, the royal treatment. They really wanted you there. That's
that was good.
quite a
But
compliment.
with Howard and I did a cruise ship on celebrity cruises. Really, you know,
Uh-huh.
and then 2 weeks, I think it was the Panama Canal. So, and what we and Howard didn't like to fly. He didn't want to go in a boat,
Either one, huh? Okay.
but I said, you got to do it. So, okay. So we go down there with our wives, actually. It was great. They really gave us first class treatment. And all we had to do was play two sets just before dinner. when people go out for the first seating and then you play for 45 minutes and then the next thing. Okay. So we get on the stand and we've been playing together for quite a while at this point. So we really had it down. And Howard is like, he doesn't know what we're playing. He doesn't know the changes. He doesn't even know the song. He's out of it. He's gone.
Hmm.
So what's going on? I don't know. You don't know. I said, we got 2 weeks of this. I'm gonna, you know.
Yeah,
So we did whatever we could to get through the set. And I'm thinking, what the hell's going on here? You know, maybe it's the trauma of being of the whole trip was, you know, because he didn't want to do it. And
right.
this morning he comes down to breakfast. He's so happy. What's going on, Howard? Oh, he says, I went to the ship's doctor. I wanted to get more of the patches behind my ear because of the, you know, the drama, you know,
Dramamine. Yeah.
no, yeah, whatever it is, the patches behind the ear because of, you know, seasickness. And the doctor said, no, we can't give you that. We give you drama. He gives him Dramamine. He said, because the patches cause forgetfulness.
Oh, there you go.
And of course, that night we played the whole trip. It's great.
Smooth
I
sailing.
sail, you know,
Oh,
but
that's great. Yeah.
that's
Yeah, that was something. The Panama Canal, I'm sure you went out and took a look at it. It was very beautiful to look out on the cruise ship. I remember playing at some cruise ships, and we went through there as well.
yeah, yeah.
It's just a very interesting, interesting itinerary. Um, so let me ask you a little bit about Gloria Lynn. She was a singer that I saw on your bio that you did a little bit of playing with Gloria. Tell us about that experience.
You know, there's not much to tell. Matter of fact, we played in Washington D.C. We had
Oh, interesting.
some big stadium. Um,
Huh.
you know, you just go in and you just play. We really don't talk. You just talk in the car. You're not talking about anything. You're just talking about just what you did today and what you had for breakfast.
Yeah.
But, but I worked with a lot of different singers, many, you know, some well-known singers, you know, Jimmy Witherspoon and Terry Thornton. Did you know Terry Thornton?
I know of Terry Thornton. Yeah.
Fantastic. And we had a duo for uh, over 6 months, guitar, and she would sing and play piano.
Oh, great.
Guitar and piano. How do you do that? That's tricky.
It can work well with the right two people.
Both.
I'm sure you made it work.
Well, it's tricky, you know, and I do work with piano players. I like to work with piano players if they're depending on if
Who was one of the most comfortable piano players you ever worked with? Anybody come to mind that you gelled very easily with that person?
yeah.
Good take.
I can remember the problem is remembering names. Bross Townsend is one
Ah,
great piano player. Matter of fact, Bross and I we had a trio with the bass player named Bob Cunningham, and we worked for 3 years with tap dancers.
oh,
Another interesting setup, you know, working
yeah,
with Steve
yes.
Herberman, working
Did
with
you ever get to accompany Jimmy Slide or any of those
yeah,
people?
Jimmy Slide was the it was his thing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was the host, and Jimmy Slide, and we had Savion Glover and Gregory Hines and all the old tap dancers, you know.
And Maurice Hines too, probably. Yeah, his brother. Yeah, interesting. There was a guy named Steve Condis also. I think that was in that circuit. Anyways, that's fantastic. I guess you got some rhythmic ideas from working with those tap dancers, huh?
Well, yeah, because it's like a drummer, but you know, you have to set him up, and you know, it's like the song "Cute." Da, da, da,
Right.
ding, ding,
Yeah.
ding.
Phil.
So you know, you have to let the tap dancer do their thing. You know, you're not gonna. That's like with a singer, you're not gonna play in over what they're doing. You want
You
to.
better not, or you might not be back on the gig the next night, right? Yeah,
You want to support, make them bring out the best in them.
that's right. The reason why I brought up Gloria Lynn earlier is because I know that she did some gigs with Wes Montgomery, and I was wondering if that ever came up with her.
First of all, I didn't know that, and it didn't come up.
Ah, I see.
And interesting, yeah.
Did you ever get a chance to hear Wes Montgomery?
Yeah,
You would have been
I
rather young, but tell me about that experience of
did. Pretty
hearing
good.
Wes. I bet it was. Was it at the half note?
The half note, yeah. And that night I remember a night that I saw him, it was Toots Steelman sat in
Really?
on harmonica.
On harmonic? Yeah, he wouldn't dare pick up a guitar, would he? Even though he was a great guitar player too. But
I met him actually at one of Paul Simon's parties, and we had a little chat. And I was telling him how much I admired his playing, and he says, he said, I used to play elevator music. And then learned about the pentatonic scale, and that changed everything. I still haven't don't know what the hell he's talking about. I mean, why it would change because he was
yeah, that's
brilliant, but that's what he said, and you know,
yeah. Did you get a chance to have any words with Wes Montgomery when at the half note?
uh, I would,
No. Yeah,
what
yeah, I know.
about it? He said, I could have, but it just was awkward, and
Yeah, I get that. I'm sure a lot of people were trying to talk to Wes. I know Bill Crow said he never missed a chance to hear Wes with the Wynton Kelly trio at the half note. So maybe you were there on some of the nights Bill was there. I know you play with Bill. You've played a lot with him over the years.
amazing. He's like 95, 96. I don't know. I think he's 96 now.
I think you're right. Yeah.
He did something a couple of months ago in the afternoon. We had something in Connecticut and with the quintet, and he says, "I got to go because we were hanging out. The guys were hanging out after." He said, "I have a job in the village,
Oh my goodness.
playing with some young players. It's called the Antique Garage, which was, just a joint, But he's out there all the time, and
He's
he
out there all the time.
sings great, sings great, plays his.
I haven't heard him sing, but I
Yeah,
bet I bet you're yeah.
and he's
He's
and
a
he's
great musician.
what a fun guy he is, and his knowledge
Oh yeah,
and he's got a great sense of humor.
absolutely. Those local 802 columns for anybody that hasn't read those. Band Room, I think. Is
And I've sent him a
hilarious.
lot of things to
Yeah,
that.
and he came out with a couple books, and so forth.
I, I,
I think you're in one of the anecdotes in his book.
I know a lot of them. I just sent him another one. I just played last week with Jay Lenhart at the American Folk Art Museum last week, and we played um, Body and Soul,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought I played pretty nicely. I felt good about it. And then Joe,
Bill.
Jay,
Jay Leonard. Yeah.
he played, Arco. He played his he's the most magnificent solo. And when we got done, the woman in the first audience, in the audience in the first row said, "Play some jazz."
Okay. You
Okay.
can't make some of this stuff up.
So some jazz is, has to, rhythm, you know. So we played down home blues, and
Right.
I didn't say what I would have liked to said, but you have to do that.
Right. You mentioned some of your earlier teachers, Barry Galbraith. Who were some of the other people? I guess Remo Palmiere was
But let
another.
me tell you the one who was a major influence on me
Mhm.
was I went, I'm playing guitar since I'm 9 years old. Okay. And I started playing country music. By the time I was 12, I was on radio and TV singing and playing.
Oh, all right. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
We grew up in the country, and my father had a bar and grill, and he hired a cowboy one summer to come and play the guitar at the bar. And of course, cowboy outfits, and he had this big Gibson with flowers on it and stuff, you know. So he showed me a couple of chords, and I was off and running, you know, with a $8 Stella guitar.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So yeah, so that I used to perform in different places and radio and TV in the early days. And so the first teacher I had, and I didn't know how to read. I didn't know. I didn't. I learned. I'm self-taught at that point. Yeah. And
Hmm.
of course, I was doing all these different shows and you know getting around, getting known as a kid. My teacher was recommended to come to the house to teach me. I was 13, and he was a violin uh, player, and he also taught guitar. You know, the guitar was not a popular instrument at that time when I was a kid. And then so he came twice, and I didn't know what the hell he's talking about. So he said to my parents, "Your son is unteachable." However, I have a party that I'm doing next week on violin, and he seems to know all the songs that I'm playing. When I call the tune, he seems to know it. If I give him $50, is it okay if he comes and plays with me? So it was my first teacher and my first gig.
Nice gig. Yeah.
Still
It's
pay
like
for
Eddie Lang Joe Venuti thing or something, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, he couldn't. I wasn't teachable, but I was
Yeah,
okay.
could play with him.
And
Well,
then when I was, and then of course I played with dance bands. You know, we had these books called Combo Orc. Ever see that?
mhm.
Yeah. So in high school, I played with all these different bands and played rock and roll and country band, and the whole works, polka bands. Uh, but when I was in my early 20s, uh, I went to see Kenny Burrell, who was I loved his playing.
Oh yeah.
And I said, "Can you teach me?" And he said, "No, but go to somebody that I took a few lessons with, Skeeter Best."
Skeeter Best. Yeah.
Not Skeeter Betts. People know Skeeter Betts.
Yeah, Skeeter Best was a guitar player. I asked Skeeter Betts one time if he ever played with him, and he laughed. He said, "People have gotten us mixed up for years."
Well, Skeeter was something. He was
Yeah,
a great player and a real inspiration. Real inspiration. So he got me going.
he
He said,
got you. Were they informal lessons?
"Come to
Where
my house."
I'm
Sometimes
sorry.
I go to he would come to my house. Sometimes I go to his house.
Yeah.
Sometimes he'd be teaching me and he'd fall asleep.
Uh, do you remember anything in particular that you learned from him? I've never ran across anybody that had a lesson with him.
Vision playing, chord solos,
Chord solos. Yeah.
and he asked me to play a solo on something, you know, improvise.
Hmm.
And he said, and his reaction to that was, stand over there at the chair. To, see that? And that's a door, right? And he says, "Yeah, I don't know what the hell he's talking about." He says, when you play, it's got to be something. What is it? What are you doing? It's got to be something.
Yeah.
Not running licks, and
Right. Right. Right.
which is that's the whole story. You know, in other words, what are you saying? What's your story? What is it? Is it a chair? Is it a table? What? Yeah, that's a big lesson.
Pretty deep. Yeah.
What the hell are you talking about? You know.
Right.
And then I would sub for him
Huh.
and some really sweet gigs.
I bet. Anyone come to mind that is more memorable?
Bucky Alexander.
Uh-huh.
I don't think I got to play with him, but Wynton Kelly. I don't think I got to play with him. I just think I went with him, and then hanging out with him, and then oh yeah, an organ player. and he was Bo Pleasant.
Huh.
Uh, yeah, so he liked what I did, and I was just learning, you know what I mean? But whatever it is, it's encouraging, and some, little encouragement goes a long way, you know.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
then I studied with Galbraith and Remo, and Howie Morgan showed me a few things, very helpful.
Yeah.
And another teacher who was really helpful for me was Yasha Kaufman, the classical guitar.
Hmm. Okay.
Was I used to play with a bass player named Russell George, who was a great bass player. He used to play with Dizzy, and he used to tell me things because Dizzy apparently went around the road, used to have like sort of classes with his players, and he told me stuff he would impart, things he learned.
Mm-hmm.
My reading was kind of lousy. He says, if you want to get your reading, you get to go to study class with guitar. So I started studying with Yasha Kaufman, and that went on for years and years and years. He said, just take a few lessons, but I really got hooked into it.
Oh, that's fabulous.
He was a great teacher because he got me to slow down, because I see somebody I just don't want to stop playing, that's my personality. And he says, I says, it's very slow. He says, when you think it's too slow, play it in half the speed, half that.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
It's like
Mm-hmm.
torture, but and so that was a great thing for me. And then I learned how to read.
And he got you playing with your right hand fingers also, I presume? Yeah. Do you still do that to this day? Play finger style?
I play classical guitar. I wouldn't say I play fingerstyle. That's
Right. You play classical guitar with your right hand fingers, right? Okay. Yeah, but on the steel string you use a pick. I noticed. Yeah. Hmm.
occasionally I'll play some, but I'm not I don't know. I mean, I wasn't the best student in the world for several reasons. It's my having, when you learn by ear, you have your own system. And I think teachers that I have found, aside from Yasha Kaufman, tend to, I mean, Skeeter got me at the very beginning, so he got me started with some basic information. He gave me the basics, which I, I, I got to as much as I could absorb at that time. But I think the other teachers, they see that I know how to play, and they go from there, as opposed to, do you know what a triad is? Do you know, if you go in D flat, do you know all the notes in the scale? Do you know the third? Do you know this? I mean, the basic information. They assume that I know all of that, and I didn't. Even to this day, I'm catching up with, finding little potholes, and I'm trying to fill them up. And I studied, like I was 16 years old. I come to terms with, and there are reasons for that. It's my personality, and also I had another career.
What was your other career?
I was a creative director in advertising, and a graphic designer, and a filmmaker, and all kinds of stuff. I used to do TV commercials and
Uh-huh.
had an agency, but I always played at night. My wife was very understanding. Claire's amazing
It
person.
supported your jazz habit, your day job. Yeah.
And, it's not a habit. It's who I am.
Right. I
It's,
know what you mean.
we raised a family, but that means that you only have a certain amount of time left in the day to practice. It's not like you're 12 years old and mommy's and daddy are taking care of you, and just sit in your room for 12 hours, and you have other things you got to do.
Right, right, right.
And it's all part of it's all good, because what you play who you are, and and that's my life, and that was my life. In 1989, packed it in to go full time.
Oh, beautiful.
But
Yeah.
I've been playing with a lot of these people that we're talking about while I was doing advertising as a creative director during the day, when I play at night. But
Hmm.
still, the idea of what I was doing in creative director means I had to come up with ideas for TV commercials and ads and stuff like that. It's the same creative process. Coming up
Did,
with
did you ever get your friends' gigs on any jingles or anything thing like that that was related to your advertising job? Were you able to?
let's put it this way: a lot of the people that I used became friends,
Hmm. Oh, that's great.
you know. But I mean, I used production houses, and I would do some writing.
Hmm.
Viennese, Viennese wine, Viennese, it tastes so fine.
All right. That's you. Oh, all right. You talked about Barry Galbraith. Can I go back and ask you a couple questions about him because I'm a very big fan of his playing and teaching. What was the first lesson like with him? If can you remember the initial lessons with Barry, what they were like, or if not, just what
I'll
he
tell you this.
imparted
Tell you,
on you.
I tell you, from I know what I remember from Barry. He showed me some technique, which I use to this day. Uh, but I remember that I learned some chord solos from him. And what was particularly interesting is that uh, it was like learning a classical piece. That if the singer says, take it up a half a step,
Uh,
I don't do it in D. I do it in F sharp.
right, right.
So play Capriccio Arab in F sharp, not in D. Oh, wait a minute, that's not my key. I let's see. No, actually, I do it in G. So the songs that I learned from when the chord solos, I would play these things, and they're great. I really didn't know the song. He never said, you know what? Before I show you that, let's take the song, and it goes like this. My old flame, do dee 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 dee. Okay, you know that, then you can play it anywhere. You know what it is. And what is the chords that go with that? Well, I'm right into the things with all his perversions, whatever.
Right, right.
I'm playing the shit out of it. It sounds great, but I don't know the song.
Maybe he assumed that you did know the song.
That's the problem. And the same thing,
Again, those assumptions.
you know. And even when I studied with Remo, we went over lots of stuff. And you know, and I got stuff from Barry, and I got a ton of stuff from Remo. But I think I know I've taught a few people, and I always try to figure out where they are. You know, they're not beginners. You know, it's a beginner, something else. Where are they? What are, and what? And my wife, Claire, is a teacher trainer,
Hmm.
particularly in the field of people with different learning styles,
Interesting.
and also learning disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's amazing, but it works. You know, you have to figure out where they are. She worked for an organization called All Kinds of Minds. People learn differently. So, you know, and that was not my experience, wherever they were.
I see. Right, right. Now, as far as your ability to hear tunes and so forth, would you say you have good relative pitch? Are you one of the ones blessed with perfect pitch? What's your?
I do not have perfect pitch, but when I go on when I get the gigs I get, um, a lot of them we don't even discuss what we're going to play. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like if it's a casual or that kind of thing. We don't even discuss the key. You don't say, "Do you know the song?" May not be in the original. It might even not even be something that I really know that well.
Sure.
It's like, so I can hear it. I can hear it. After all these years, the patterns,
Oh yeah, the chord patterns and
get in
yeah,
chunks. This is like this is sort of like that.
sure. Well, also being a guitar player, sometimes you're afforded the opportunity to listen to the if there's a bass player and a piano player, for instance, they can kind of carry it. So we're lucky. Bass players aren't as lucky. They kind of have to be there from beat one. Yeah.
Well, most of the gigs that I'm doing the last few years have been guitar and bass, or guitar, bass, and a singer, or guitar, bass, and horn. So
Yeah.
that makes it difficult. Piano is you have a piano player, or with an organ player. You can listen, and then you
Exactly. Yeah.
first, you take the first chorus. Fine, go ahead. Take another one. Then you got it. But
Yeah, that's right. Buy yourself a little time. Hmm.
right. You go out as a guitar and bass, or just a horn player, just calling whatever they know.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
do
that's right.
piano. This-
Yeah, well, let's see. There were a few other things I wanted to ask you. Um, I know we're kind of getting towards the end here, and so thank you for your time. I just wanted to ask you if you remember any, besides being at the Half Note listening to Wes Montgomery, were there any other concerts, situations where you are an audience member, maybe as a younger person, that to this day you still think back to uh, as a memorable experience, being able to hear any particular musician or musicians.
No, I can't say that. I could say that I could think of a record that really turned my
Okay, well that was another question, so that works for me.
on down low. A great night for swinging.
Which A Great Night for Swinging by who?
On down low.
Oh, Mondello, sure.
And uh, the best part of it is that we became friends later on. We played together.
Oh, beautiful.
I used to go see him when I was out on the coast.
Yeah.
I have an amp here that he gave me. Anyway, that was it for me. That was it. That was you know. I mean, he came to one of my gigs in New York with Charlie Bird and Herb Ellis. They were doing the great guitars.
Oh, yeah.
So I asked him, would he like to sit in? And he sat in, and I sat with Charlie Bird, and Herb went to the men's room. So I said to Charlie, I said, "Can I ask you something?" I said, I'm working on Recuerdos de la Alhambra.
The tremolo piece, yeah. Hmm.
And yeah. I thought he'd say, "Well, let me see your fingers. How do you hold your thumb with it?" He says, "Oh," he says, "I know. That's a hard piece. I've been working on that for 40 years every day."
Yeah.
So what do you want? You want the magic bullet,
That's right. Yeah, it's something you got to keep working on. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, Mundell was terrific. What a fine musician, and he had quite a sense of humor too. Kind of dry sense of humor, but you know, so he was very supportive of guitar players. There was a club in New York that Kenny Burrell, I think, was part owner in, called the Guitar. I'm sure that you
Yeah,
probably.
that's where I went to hear him, and I asked him, "Can I take lessons with him?"
Right, right. And I guess Jim Hall played there quite a bit also. Maybe I'm thinking some other guys, Attila Zoller, maybe,
Yeah.
and some of these people. Yeah, that's some heavy company there in New York that were around at that time.
I took a lesson with Attila once, and I didn't know what he was talking about.
Yeah. What you got to play with him?
Yeah.
So that must have been something, huh?
Yeah, but at this point, I'm glad to be still playing. And I have a birthday coming up the
Is
next
it a
week.
milestone birthday of any kind, or?
Milestone is 86.
Oh, that's okay. Well,
Yeah,
you're doing great. I mean, the fact you're still playing and active and
still working.
fingers are moving. Have you
Well,
had any ailments with your hands over the years, or have you been one of the lucky ones that have been?
I would say the only thing I notice is uh, I don't snap my finger. It feels a little not as strong as it was.
Mm, mm,
So I notice when I'm playing classical guitar that I think particularly with my left hand, the decorations that you play,
yeah.
I'm leaving out a few of them and
Mhm.
playing. It still works, but it's not that easy. So hey, look,
Right.
I can still walk.
Yeah, right. Well, you're doing great, and I really want to thank you for your time getting together today. And if you want, we can do this again. We could do a part two sometime. So let me know if you're interested in that. And it was really great talking to you, Bill.
With Honky Tonk, with Bill Doggett, we used to play
Yeah,
Honky Tonk Part One and Part Two.
part one and part two. That's right. And then we can talk next time a little bit about some of the things that you do with food, the food art, which is a whole nother subject, which is really fun and interesting and creative.
Now I have 6 books, and I just signed a contract
Unbelievable. Wow.
for book number 7. It's on mushroom art.
Oh, mushroom art. It's one of my favorite vegetables.
And there was a bidding war for it.
Wow, nice. Who'd
Crazy.
have thunk it? Fantastic. All right, Bill. Well, let's keep in touch and keep playing and enjoy
Yeah,
your
I love your playing, and
bandstand.
I'm a big fan of yours.
Oh,
And I might call you up for some lessons.
oh, well, geez, that means a lot. It would be fun to get together, and I would love to play. I wish there was no latency issues via Zoom, but maybe the next time I'm in New York, I'll stop by. We can plan a little session. That'd be an honor. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, and thank your wife too. And you know, I'll catch you the next time. Okay. Be well. Bye now.